Alright, so in this video we're going to start taking a look at AutoCAD, and specifically we're going to take a look at the user interface and how AutoCAD's laid out, where to find commands, and just where to look and where to go for information. And so this lesson's called the Introduction to AutoCAD, and specifically what we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at the application menu and see what commands are in there. We're going to talk about where the quick access toolbar is located, what is the ribbon, what's the command line, and why is it so important to almost everything we do in AutoCAD. We're going to take a look at our drawing aid toolbar, and we're going to turn some icons on and turn some off. And then we're going to start talking about how AutoCAD functions, and some of those areas of how it functions is how do we start a command, how do we cancel a command, how do we hit enter in AutoCAD, how to repeat a command, and then we're going to get into just a few commands, and those are just some basic zoom commands. So that's what we're going to take care of today, and that's what we're going to go over. Just some real basic, real foundational information in AutoCAD. So if you go out to your computer, and I just want you to find the icon for AutoCAD, double click on that so it'll open up. As you can see, we're using AutoCAD 2015 for this course. And so where we're going to start is once this opens up, we're just going to take a look at the landing page, and then we'll look at each one of these different areas. So when AutoCAD opens up, you should get a screen like this, and we're going to talk about more of this screen and each of these commands in more detail in the file management video. But for now, here under Get Started, just go ahead and click on the Start Drawing, and it'll open a template and it'll open a drawing so you can start working from. So some of those items were the application menu. The application menu is the big red A up in the upper left hand corner. If you click on that, you'll get a menu that expands out, and you can see the type of commands that you can find in that big A. Also, we talked about the quick access toolbar. That's this toolbar across the top. You've got things like new, open, save, save as, and print. And what's nice about AutoCAD is if you hover over any command, it'll tell you what it is, and sometimes it'll even give you a preview of what it does. Next thing is the ribbon. Almost all software these days has a ribbon. The ribbon works really well for learning the software and getting a feel for how the software is laid out. In AutoCAD, we've got a ribbon and a number of different tabs, such as the Annotate tab, which is where if we needed to dimension an object, that's where all of our dimension commands are. Alright, so that's our ribbon. Moving on to the next thing here is the command line. Command line is this little transparent box that's down here at the bottom. And the command line is very important because you're going to hear me say over and over again, read the command line, look at the command line. What's AutoCAD prompting you for? And that information's in the command line. So I want to do one thing right quick, and that's on this command line. If you look over here on the left side, there's two columns of dots that show up there. I want you to left click on those dots and hold down on it, and that will allow you to drag this command line around. And I just want you to come down here to the bottom of AutoCAD and kind of get into that kind of dark black area of the actual software, and you'll get a little outline there. And I want you to release the toolbar at this point, and it will dock the toolbar in there. And that will dock it in there so it's always there, it's always part of your screen, and it'll just help us as we're working through this software and as we're learning the software. And then the other thing is just hover over the top of your command line now, and I just want you to expand it out. Just left click and drag up and drag down until you have at least 3 lines of your command line showing. So I've got command there 3 times, and then as well as my type of command line. So just adjust the height of that so we've got at least 3 lines showing. And that's probably the most important thing in AutoCAD to me, is when you're learning this software, you have to always remind yourself to always read the command line and look down at the command line and see what AutoCAD is prompting you for. And so just to say it again, most importantly, read the command line, and you can find that information down here. Next thing we're going to take a look at are these drawing aids. We've got a number of drawing aids down along the bottom. Yours may not be the same as mine, and that's okay. But all the way over here on the right side, you'll see 3 little lines. And when I hover over it, it tells me it's the customization tab. So if you click on that little tab, then these are all of the other drawing aids that we could turn on. So if there's a check mark beside it, it means that there's an icon down here representing that particular drawing aid. So I just want you to take a minute and go through and turn yours on and off and make sure that you just have check marks next to the same ones that I do. That way we know what's there and that our user interfaces match. So go ahead and take a minute and do that. Pause the video if you have to. Alright, so after you've done that, just go ahead and click a point anywhere in AutoCAD. That'll close out of that customization. And again, that was just to turn these drawing aids on and off, so whether you just see them being displayed along the bottom or not, it's not actually turning the aid on so that you can use it. It was just the display of the icon. Next thing to talk about is how we go about starting a command. So in AutoCAD, there's a number of ways that you can start a command. Like for instance, one way is come up here on the ribbon. I can click on the Home tab, and I've got the line command. And so one way I can start the line command is just to left click on that icon, and I'll see down here in my command line that now I have a command running, and it says specify first point. I can go in here and just in AutoCAD just click a few points to draw a line, and so that I started that command by clicking on line. Alright, so whenever I'm done with my command, I've got a few options. One of my options is I can just hit enter to say I'm done with that command. So that's one way. Another way is using keyboard shortcuts, and this is probably the best way to learn how to start commands in AutoCAD is using the keyboard shortcuts. And so for the line command, it's just an L. So just type L and hit enter, and that starts your line command. And you can go through, just click a few points just to draw some lines, and after you're done you can hit enter, and that will finish that command. So that's a second way. A third way is kind of doing a search for it. If you know the name of the command, you can just type the name of the command in, and AutoCAD will search and return the different commands that have your word in them. So when I type line here, I can scroll down through this list and select whichever command I want. And so I wanted line, so I can go ahead and click on line. That starts the command, and I can go in and start drawing some lines. And again, just hit enter when I'm done with that command. So that's the 3 ways to start a command. You can choose it from the ribbon, you can type the keyboard shortcut, or you can do a search for it and then select it from the list that comes up. Next, we'll talk about how we go about canceling a command. So in AutoCAD, if I start my line command and I've drawn a line, well, if I want to cancel that command and just say I'm done with that command, the way we do that is we hit the escape key on your keyboard, and sometimes I hit it up to 5 times. Sometimes you have to hit it multiple times to actually cancel out of a command, and it doesn't hurt to hit it extra. And so whenever you're done with a command, you can hit escape up to 5 times to cancel that command out. Next thing is how to represent enter. You know, I had mentioned earlier that we can invoke a command, we can start a command by typing in a keyboard shortcut. Well, one way to hit enter in AutoCAD is to actually physically hit the enter key. When you do that, it starts the command. Another way is you can also use the space bar. In AutoCAD, space bar is the same as hitting enter. So I can type L, hit the space bar, it runs the command. Another way is I can type L, and then if I right click on my mouse, then that's the same as hitting enter also. So I've got 3 different options there. I can hit enter, I can use the space bar, and I can right click. They all do the same thing. Last few items about just how AutoCAD works is if we've ran a command and we just want to run that command again, and so we've drawn some lines. Line was the last command that we ran. If I want to run line again, I just need to hit enter. So I just hit enter from my keyboard, and it will run the last command. So it's just a quick way to start, in this case, the line again, because the line was the last command that I ran. And that also works if you hit spacebar. It just repeats the last command. Alright, the last few things here are our zoom commands. Now on my mouse, I've got a roller wheel on my mouse, and I can do all my zoom commands that I need to do. I can do it with my mouse. And so it's all with the wheel on the mouse. Most important thing is you want to move over and hover over what you want to zoom in or zoom out, or what you want to move. And so the first one's going to be a pan. So I'm going to move over the objects I want to pan, hold down on the wheel, and once I hold down on the wheel, just move side to side, move up or down, and that's just to move the drawing, just to slide the drawing one side or the other, move it up or down. And then the next part is to zoom in or out. So if I hover over the area I want to zoom in on, and then I spin the wheel toward my monitor, it will zoom in on that corner. If I spin the wheel towards my body, it will zoom out. And again, with this, it's just important to keep in mind, it's going to zoom in on whatever you're hovering over. And same thing when you zoom out, it's going to zoom out from that area that you're hovered over. And then the last part of zoom that I use is zoom extents. And the way you zoom extents in AutoCAD is you double click the roller wheel. So if you just double click the roller wheel, it'll go ahead and zoom out, and that zooms out to your farthest drawn element. If you don't happen to have a wheel on your mouse, you can find all these same commands over here on this view toolbar. So we've got in here zoom extents. You can just select zoom extents and then just click on that little icon and it will zoom extents. You also have a zoom window. When you do zoom window, you're just going to click 2 points, and that's a left click, and it's going to zoom in on whatever you had inside of that window. You're also going to have zoom in, zoom out, and other zoom commands in there. But again, with a mouse with a roller wheel, I can do everything I need to when it comes to zooming just with the wheel on the mouse. So it's just a handy little feature there. Alright, and so that was the lesson for today, just a quick introduction into AutoCAD. We talked about the application menu and what it is and some of the commands that we can find in the application menu. We talked about the quick access toolbar and how it's located across the top of the screen. Talked about the ribbon and how it houses the majority of the commands that we're going to use in AutoCAD. Talked about the command line and how it's probably the most important feature in AutoCAD, and the key to remember, and I can't say it enough, is the key to running AutoCAD is to read the command line. Always look at the command line. We looked at our drawing aid toolbar and turned some icons on and off. We talked about how to start a command and the different ways that you can start a command, from clicking on it in the ribbon, typing keyboard shortcut, or searching for it in the command line. How to cancel a command by hitting escape a number of times. How to represent the enter key by either pressing enter, hitting spacebar, or right clicking on your mouse. And also how to repeat a command just by hitting enter. It will repeat the last command. And then we looked at some basic zoom commands such as zoom in, zoom out, zoom extents, and pan. Alright, and that's it for the introduction to AutoCAD. Our next video we'll start getting into creating some elements in AutoCAD of actually doing some drawing. So thanks for your attention.